To the eternally curious, unapologetically superstitious Midnight Society rejects, Stormy Willow welcomes you. We're the eccentric coots, storytellers, explorers, dabblers, practitioners, and paranormal pupils who examine the what's ifs, the what's that's, and WTFs of this dimension and beyond.
Welcome, Stormy Willow listeners. Sarah here in South Carolina, along with Adell, my beautiful sister in Albuquerque. What's going on? Welcome to Stormy Willow, everybody.
Yeah, welcome. It's been a minute since the last episode, as life tends to, I guess, just happen.
Right. Well, it's funny as I was thinking of the last time we recorded, which was on the new year. And guess what? It's still January. I hate January. It never ends. It's the longest month of the year, right? And we're still in it. We still have one full week left.
And it's retrograde until the 4th of February.
Okay, that explains a lot. Did you know when it started? Did it just start? Or has it basically been all of January?
No, I think it started, I don't know. I want to say 12-ish, maybe?
Oh my gosh. Well, I'm feeling it.
That might be too early. Maybe I'm just, because I felt it before it started.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Should have known.
Okay, the 14th it started. I was close.
I feel it. It's been a really just not a great start to our new year. So after while we were recording last, we got our phones were blowing up. We found out that Betty White had passed away. And then we lost Sidney Poitier the Great. And do you remember when I tried to get into governor school by doing a scene of A Raisin in the Sun? Do you remember that?
I don't remember that.
I did. And it was just not good. It was the worst. It was the worst audition ever. I think I ran out of there like Napoleon Dynamite, crying. It was not good. So if you are not as strong, even if you are a strong actor, to try to play him would be very difficult. But my 12-year-old self and white and Southern, and I just his role just really spoke to me, and I just really tried to bring it, and it was just an epic fail. So needless to say, I remained in public school until I graduated. And then today we lose Meatloaf and
Louis Anderson.
So it's just not been a really awesome start. And I don't know about you, where you are, but it's been COVID crazy here where I live. So many of my friends, family have been impacted. So it was just, I don't know, I'm over this already. Just come done with it.
Yeah. It's just rampant. I think at this point we are all going to catch it.
I think so too. But hopefully the variant won't be quite as bad as it was.
I got sick from my booster shot, so I'm just oh.
Yeah, right. It's crazy. So I hope that you all are staying healthy where you are, and hope that you haven't gotten this mess that's going around, and that you're having a better January than us.
Yeah, and on top of that, I had that pipe bust, and if it had been 2 feet on the other side, the city would have had to pay for it. But it was just 2 feet on my side, so I had to pay for it. So we went without water for 4 days. So that all just threw a wrench in our recording schedule.
Yes. Yeah. You are not a happy camper.
I was so mad.
It would have been an interesting session.
Yeah.
We may have definitely lost the one listener we have.
Yeah. Or I could have just made a YouTube channel, just go live and be hey, it's survival in my house.
Oh my gosh. Well, hopefully, we're just getting all the stuff out of the way now, and we'll be smooth sailing for the rest of the year. But if you're not listening in order, you may want to check out our episode before this one, because Adele has just decided to like deep dive into Skinwalker Ranch. So she started out so our episode 1 was Skinwalkers. I did like a little nice little boo hag, which we love. Boo hags are still my favorite.
Oh yeah, they're pretty fun.
Then Adele, that wasn't enough for her. She decided to do a 2-part series on Skinwalker Ranch. So this is part 2 of this crazy saga, I guess you would say. And I'm really excited. It's been you kind of left me hanging for a few weeks. I know I've been talking to you and you've been trying to get through all of this. Then you're like, this is just a mess. So I'm really excited to hear about it.
I feel like I'm back in college trying to cram for finals. That's just how much crazy stuff has happened in this area. And I think I was overly ambitious. My next topic is definitely going to be something a bit lighter, make it easier on myself.
Oh my gosh.
But yeah, my primary source is The Hunt for the Skinwalker by Colm A. Kelleher and George Knapp. So that's kind of what I'm focusing on, is that view, because there is so much stuff out there on Skinwalker Ranch. Their entire podcast just on the topic, and me trying to do this in 2 parts was just insane.
It was awesome. We go big or go home. So yeah. Well, you do, obviously. I'm gonna stick with the friendly low country ghost.
So I
say a lot to unpack here. So
yes.
I'm gonna turn it over to you.
This should be really fun too, because it has been a minute since I've looked at these notes. So this is going to be an interesting ride. But where we left off from part 1 was all the strange occurrences around in the book. They're called the Gormans. So identities have been changed, but for consistency's sake, I'm going with those aliases.
Tad, if you remember. Tad is my favorite.
Yes, which is not really his name, nor is it the Gorman family, but we're sticking with the book.
It's still the one thing out of all of this craziness that you talked about. I just can't get the name Tad out of my head. It's of all the names to pick for this book, he went with Tad. I'm sorry. Okay. I'll stop.
No, even better than that. We're choosing aliases, right? And there's 2 Toms. Investigative team. Why? Right?
Toms and a Tad.
I was like, the other Tom? Where did this guy come from?
Okay, sorry, I digress already, and we're 3 minutes in. Get over the names. Stop it.
I don't know. I might confuse myself in this with multiple characters with the same names, so we'll see. But so part 1 leaves off with the hellish encounters and just all these crazy experiences that the Gorman family has on their ranch. Now part 2 is the investigation, where some professionals actually come in. So the organization is called NIDS. It stands for National Institute for Discovery Science, and it's they believe in bringing scientific rigor to paranormal studies.
Love that.
So that already sounds really cool.
Yeah, I would like to get in on that.
Mm-hmm. And so NIDS bought the Gorman Ranch in the summer of 1996 because of all the strange occurrences that were going on. They caught wind of it and were like, let's buy it and investigate it. And Tom is the main person, Tom Gorman. He's the dad of the family, and it's kind of mainly about him and his experiences, although they all have crazy crap happen to them. So Tom actually took a job with NIDS to still be the ranch hand, although he wasn't living on the ranch, because he was just
worked out for Tom.
Yeah, so he was just so curious, and it was driving him crazy that he couldn't figure out what was going on, and essentially, forced him off his ranch. And he's a super tough guy, really pissed off about the situation. So he's like, I want to stay on and see what the hell happened. What is this thing? So he also joined in some of the night watches. So he was still an active role, but not living there for his own sanity.
Yeah, right.
So let's see. I believe it feels like a different tone. So the two authors, so Colm A. Kelleher, he's a PhD, he's a biochemist, and he's on the ranch as a part of NIDS. And I think he probably wrote the investigation part. It just feels a lot more scientific-y, more than a journalist. So while I appreciate his attention to detail, it was a little bit harder to get through.
Yeah, I remember you saying that.
Mm-hmm. So when Colm Kelleher first steps onto the ranch, he's like, there's just something not quite right feeling about it, was kind of his first take. Like, just something seems kind of off from the second he stepped foot on the ranch. And they were called out because there were 2 dead cows. So if you remember from part 1, there's a lot of cattle mutilations going on.
I do not like that.
So what they initially want to do is take a look at the dead cows to see if there's any kind of evidence of what's going on or what might have, caused this. So he also has a vet on the team that's coming to do an actual necropsy on the animals.
Can you imagine being that vet?
So also Tom shows where, if you remember from part 1, his dogs getting incinerated by those orbs.
I think you left off there at that note.
Yeah. Oh, I can't stand it when stuff's happening to the dogs. So Tom also shows them where those dogs were incinerated, because there's still like black residue from where it happened. So let's see. So there are kind of 2 camps on how to really investigate the ranch. So kind of like half the team is like, maybe we should use like tons of equipment and just have all this stuff all over the ranch. And then others are like, I think we should use a minimal approach, maybe just like scope it out, kind of like Tom did. Tom was more in favor of the minimal approach because he noticed a lot more activity when like it wasn't obvious that he was trying to watch these things.
Right.
So they ended up going with, sorry, this is where I haven't seen my notes in a while. I think approach 1 with more evidence, because the whole point of their investigation is to gather tangible evidence to take back to a board for review. So they're all about like, we need something more than personal experience. We need something measurable and something scientific.
Yeah. I want to know more about this board. Like, who serves on that? I mean, wow.
Yeah, it's like a board of just really brilliant scientists.
It's crazy.
And what's really fun about this organization, NIDS, it's just like this, I would say, I'm assuming eccentric, I don't know, this guy, Bob Bigelow, he is just like a real estate tycoon. And he's like, I'm into this. I'm going to start this organization. Here's a bunch of money.
You know what? Like, that's somebody doing something good with their fund. I love it. Good job, Bob Bigelow.
Bob Bigelow.
I dig it.
So initially, like, the team arrives, they start like interviewing a lot of locals, just trying to get like an appetite for what's going on around here, because they've already seen like reports and things in the newspaper, which led them to connecting with Tom in the first place. But they're just kind of doing their due diligence of like, all right, what are all the occurrences? What are all the witnesses? Like, what's going on here? And let's see. Okay, what they notice right off the bat is there does seem to be a trend with the cattle kind of bringing up activity. So Tom does allow them to use some of his cattle kind of as bait, because that seems to be what's attracting these things, and that's why he's there, still taking care of some of the cattle. So he gave some of his, but they also brought in, I think, some of their own. So it's not just his cows. So he moves them to like a warmer corral. We're in January 21st, 1997 at this point. And I'm trying to breeze over this.
Today's date, January 21st.
Oh, that's weird. I don't like that.
You're like, bye.
So it's freezing temperatures, and Tom moves the cows into a warm corral. So he reports injuries to the ears and eyes of 3 calves. And this is like negative 30-degree snowstorm, like is what's going on. So miserable weather. So Tom is instructed to take photos and call a vet. And with the calves, So one calf had a cut to the ear, almost like with shears. So seemed pretty precise, but it's still like, well, probably wasn't like a coyote or something. Like, how did this happen? And then 2 other calves had small round holes punctured in their eyelids.
Oh.
So pretty weird, right? So Tom gets some vets to come out there. And sorry, as a bit of backstory, so NIDS is based in Las Vegas, super close by to New Mexico. Utah, where he is. And because they have this millionaire or billionaire, I'm not really sure, they have like their own private jet. So
I was about to say, they're like, get on the jet, let's roll, we got some activity.
Yeah, so
the pager goes off, and like you're like, I've got a cattle injury, I've got some paranormal activity to investigate.
Yeah, it seriously kind of goes down like that.
That's
so
awesome.
Pretty much in the crappy, freezing cold weather, like they'll be like, all right, we're gonna hang out in Las Vegas. Anything weird happens, give us a call. We'll hop on the jet and be there in a few hours.
I can't say I blame them, like, at all.
Yeah. So I think this is the situation. Like throughout the fall, they were like interviewing
we're
people.
we're gonna be playing a little game of craps at the casino. Give us a call. We're gonna be over at Zach's museum.
We're gonna hang out with Zach Bagans. We'll do a bagel bites. Call us if something happens. Yeah. So fall is pretty quiet as far as activity. They don't really witness anything. So then they're like, all right, now it's shitty and cold. We're going back to Vegas. So this is like the first weird thing since NIDS has come on site. And they're like, all right, we'll hop on the plane, get there, but for now, call a vet. So he does. And I think there are 2 vets. Sorry. There again, my notes. This is pretty fun. Okay, so there's 2 vets, and they kind of disagree on what they think this is. Like the first vet is like, this is really weird. Like this just seems really odd. I've never seen something like this. And the other vet's like, no, I think it was a coyote or a cat.
Okay.
So
2 completely different.
2 completely different thoughts.
Okay.
So then the winter is all sucky and cold. And then February 21st, the cattle are brought back to the ranch. So he took them away to keep them warm. Now they're brought back to the ranch. Now it's starting to warm up a little bit.
This is like almost like a month later, like exactly a month later.
Yeah. So this is going to be kind of a common story of, moving the cattle with like bad weather. There's going to be some repetitive stuff that I'm going to kind of try to speak to. It's really what bogged me down with this, but I appreciate the details because what you're going to see is that it's very frustrating. Like it's very cat and mouse, repetitive events, a lack of evidence. It's like the whole thing here.
God, that has to be so frustrating.
Yeah. So I mean, it's a lot of waiting. You'll see.
And like you're moving cattle, like that can't. I mean, I've never done that before, but I wouldn't imagine that's a real easy process.
Yeah. No.
Definitely
not. So then, February 21st, the cattle are brought back, and then March 10th, a cattle mutilation occurs. So Tom calls the team, and he's pretty frantic, which is not really like him. He's usually very like stoic and calm. And he's like, hey guys, 1 calf was dismembered, and I was close by, and it was broad daylight, and that really scares me. So the team is like, all right, we're getting on the plane. We'll be there from Vegas. So they arrive within 5 hours, and because they have their private plane. So Calm describes this as a scene of horror. The animal was ripped apart. 1 leg bone was 10 feet away. Had to be something very powerful that did this. All 4 legs were spread neatly away from the body. So kind of like, I don't know, if you're laying on your back and your legs are just like, and arms are kind of neat.
This is in broad daylight, and like Tom didn't hear anything, like any kind of like I'm thinking if an animal's getting mutilated like that, you're gonna hear some kind of crazy, unless the land's just that big that.
In this case, he was close by. Didn't notice anything.
And he didn't. That's the thing that I'm kind of surprised. Not that I'm saying it's Tom. It's just strange that there wasn't a ruckus of some sort.
I think that's why he was so freaked out because he's like,
I would be too.
Just like right there.
Just happened. And I'm right here.
Yeah. So
I think that he's going crazy.
I think he's finally beyond that point where he's just like, what the hell is this thing that's doing this? And there was also no smell, and all internal organs were gone.
What?
Like it was just sucked out.
And they didn't find them?
Had broken ribs, and this calf was 841 pounds. Oh, sorry, that's my bad hand. 84 pounds.
I was like, holy
I was
cow.
like, that's a big calf.
Unintended.
Holy cow, yeah. Sorry, 84 pounds. So it's not like super big, but it's not. I mean, it'd be kind of hard to do something like that in broad daylight and not be noticed.
Or hear or something.
Yeah.
And I would think that the other cows you would hear something, I would think.
Yeah. And just like from part 1, completely no blood anywhere. No trace of blood.
What?
All the blood's just gone. So the team filmed the scene. They scanned the animal on the grounds for magnetic and electric traces of radiation. So they're just like kind of measuring anything. They're just like, all right, what
at
could
this point,
possibly
I don't know.
They even did nuclear radiation scan and found nothing. So then they interviewed Tom, and Tom, what did he say? Sorry, I can't read my own handwriting there. Lagged? He was tagging the calf. Okay, now, so that's what he was doing. He was tagging the calves. So he had just tagged that calf, and then 40 minutes later, the dogs alarmed him. The dogs took off west a couple hundred yards away, and didn't return, and the calf had been ripped away from its. Wait, what? Okay, the calf had been ripped away from its mother, so I guess it went back and was like nursing. And the mother cow was breathing heavy and acted fearful, so she was acting kind of weird. So the vet exclaimed that the ear was cut off with like a knife-like precision, so almost like a scalpel. So just kind of paint the scene. Colm is talking to Tom and interviewing him, and the vet is over here with the calf and some other person with the team. So they're kind of like, this is all happening at the same time. So Tom is like, yeah, I tagged the calf. It went back to nurse with its mom, and then it must have been just ripped away, and now the mom cow is acting really weird too. So the ear was clearly removed to the skull. The vet and team knew it wasn't a predator, but took samples anyway. And the vet did a full necropsy to try to find the cause of death. Also, the dogs were acting weird the whole day and stayed in their kennels, so they knew something was up and were just acting kind of strange. And that was just that one event. So there's just there's going to be a series, like a lot of just random events, essentially throughout this whole part.
I really hate that these animals are getting killed like this.
It's horrible. I hate animal cruelty. So I'm like, whatever this thing is just mean. It's what it seems like to me.
Like, I can kind of accept like aliens or a theory of them wanting to get evidence about us or whatever. But this is like a whole nother level of just really sinister and horrible. I don't like it.
Yeah. So then what was that? March 10th. I guess this might go on through the night of the 11th, but March 12th, shortly thereafter, the dogs and cattle were still acting really jumpy, as though a predator was near them. So they're acting like almost like they're really nervous and being like.
It's like they can sense it, but no one
else.
They can,
yeah. So then this is in the evening, and after 11 p.m., all the dogs start howling and barking hysterically, which would scare the shit out of me.
Heck yeah, especially after going through all this mess. Yes.
Yeah. So Colm and physicist Tom, not Tom Gorman, but I think Tom Gorman is here too. So Colm, Tom, and Tom, they hop in the truck with a spotlight.
Oh my god.
It's like Larry, Daryl, and Daryl.
That's
from Newhart. So I guess Tom Gorman has, this big spotlight on his truck because he checks the cattle at night. So they just jump in the truck. And they notice that the cattle is bunched towards the north pasture. And then, so there's shining spotlight. And then they notice a large black shadow standing in the southeastern tree line.
Oh, God.
They see two large yellow orbs at the same tree line. And they could now see the orbs were actually reflective eyes of a huge animal, not orbs. It was 20 feet off the ground, perched in a tree. Tom Gorman grabs his rifle. He always seems to have a rifle handy.
I can't say I blame him at this point.
Yeah, if he wasn't a cattleman, I'd think that odd, but since they're on a big ranch, I'm assuming they always have weapons.
And just considering all the shit he's been through, like at this point.
Yeah. So he grabs his rifle. He's about 50 yards away, aims and shoots. Calm notes mentally, like, this animal is weird. Instantly, the eyes disappear, and Tom screams, "Got him!" Saw him fall to the ground. I don't know which Tom said that. I'm assuming Tom. So the men search 30 yards to the left. All right, Gorman says, "I see him." He shoots 2 more times. Got him point blank. They look for a body, not finding any tracks or blood. Calm notices a single oval track about 6 inches in diameter and 2 sharp claws from the rear. It looks almost like a bird of prey or a raptor kind of track, which already sounds really nuts. If it wasn't for part 1, I'd be like, these people are nuts. But it's like, okay, sure, why not? So he videotapes the footage. He finds 1 more print that's 20 feet away. So either this thing can jump, or it's like really big.
Family of them.
Yeah, and then they search around for 2 more hours and then call it quits. They find nothing else other than those weird 2 tracks and the event that happened. So then the next day, they are debriefing and comparing notes, and Gorman swore there were 2 large animals that night, 1 in the tree and 1 on the ground. He said 1 on the ground was huge and dog-like, which sounds like some of the creatures he encountered at the beginning, like these big wolves and weird things. And this is already getting frustrating because it's already still lacking physical evidence. It's just experiences and some video of a weird track. So they're like, well, we all witnessed this.
Yeah.
That's not enough to go back to our board or try to like prove that anything paranormal is happening here. This isn't good enough. So that was in March. And then in April, Tom starts feeling a feeling of oppression. He knows this means activity is about to begin. So if you remember from part 1, like you could just sense something in the air, apparently, if you're on the ranch. That's something
like we do, like with retrograde, if you will.
Yeah. So just something's off. He feels like, something not good is going to happen. And then April 2nd, another calf disappears. This is the 5th animal in 1997 that disappeared. So let's see. It was in the afternoon. Tom and Ellen were doing their routine counts. Okay, this is a weird part. If I follow my notes well, they passed the bull corral. So they have 4 like amazing bulls. They're like so proud of them. They're 4 studly early bulls. They look fondly over at these bulls, and each of these bulls weighs more than 2,000 pounds. These are huge bulls. Yeah. And Ellen literally thinks, I would go out of my mind if I lost any of those animals. That's probably not good. It's almost like saying, like, who's there? Scary.
Well, kind of like with Tom. Remember when he was talking about how grateful he was for his dogs and how much they meant to him, and then they got incinerated? Like, I feel like this is about to be a very similar situation, and I don't like it.
Yeah, it's weird. So Ellen's saying that. She actually says it out loud, and I think Tom is like in agreement. And then 45 minutes later, they drove back, and all 4 bulls were gone from the corral. Just vanished.
Like disappeared.
Yeah. And so Ellen's just like
8,000 pounds.
What? Yes. Ellen's just like, oh my God, Tom, those bulls are not there. And then Tom searches, and there's an old small white trailer on the property, and no entrance to the corral except a tightly locked door, which was still locked. So it's not like the bulls just walked out of the corral. The corral's still tightly locked. So Tom glances inside the trailer, and all 4 of the bulls are in there. They just
inside the trailer.
inside
the
this
door is-
tiny
okay. So the
trailer.
door is still locked to the corral, and they're just hanging out in the trailer.
They are crammed into this tiny space, and they seem hit like in a hypnotic trance. They're like barely conscious. They're just kind of like, you know, gorked out in this trailer.
Okay.
And then Tom is like, what the hell? So he bangs on the trailer really hard and it like snaps him out of it.
Oh my
And then
God.
these bulls flip the frack out and just like destroy the trailer. They just beat it to
that
hell.
had to be scary.
And one of them finally like kicks the door open and then they stampede out.
Oh shit.
And then Tom, it took Tom and Ellen like hours to get the bulls like back in the corral and like calmed down. And yeah, it was just like, okay, well that happened.
Ah.
So then Calm's team arrives that evening, and after their brief, they go to investigate the site and notice locked doors bolted with barbed wire. And inside of the door were like cobwebs and undisturbed. So it's like none of these, like it's not like the cows couldn't have gotten out of the corral. Like they're still locked very tightly.
Yeah.
And the trailer door still had like cobwebs on it, so it's not like they just walked into it or had a way to get in.
Weird.
Yeah, it's weird stuff.
Ah.
And they noticed that the metal doors of the enclosure were highly magnetized this time nearest the trailer. So they're starting to find some magnetic traces.
Okay.
And let's see. I have noted cows, noonish, same day as bulls. One cow was going toward a salt lick. So it's like these little treats that they have. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know if everybody's familiar with them, but they're literally like salt. A cow can just go lick. It's like a nice little treat. The cow stopped and started walking backwards as she was approaching the salt lick. And she does that for about 30 yards.
Just like a moonwalk.
And then she turns around and just like books it.
She does a moonwalk.
Yeah. You're so funny.
Sorry.
And then
God.
that like alarmed the rest of the herd. So then all the cows start freaking out and the herd splits in two. So one group is going west and the other's going east. And what's weird about how they split is it almost looks like an invisible predator is in the middle of them. Like they're kind of like going around something.
Oh my gosh.
So then Tom pulled out a compass and pointed it toward the thing, and it was highly magnetic. So instead of his compass going like magnetic north, it was like toward this thing in the middle of the cows.
Okay, so we've got some energy. We've got some magnetic energy that we haven't had in the previous investigations, at least.
Yeah, so this is at least something.
Like the first kind of scientific something.
Yeah, so it seems like whatever this is has some sort of magnetic field, maybe. And this compass locked onto the thing for a good 11 minutes. So it was staying steady, locked. So that was the same day with the bulls. So just a crazy day for the Gormans.
That's horrible. I'd be interested to know like what the moon phases were when these things happened. Did they only happen on certain moon phases or something like that? Just that random thought. Just
I don't know.
Occurred.
I don't know because it's like there's seemingly no pattern, but
yeah,
it's like maybe nobody could ever figure out where to look exactly.
Yeah.
And then just like the whole back half of this book, the next 2 days are just uneventful, like just nothing. So they start like mapping the magnetic phenomenon, and Calm notices a really bad musky smell as he's like kind of checking out where the magnetic fields were. And it's the first time he feels like he's being watched and in danger. So that doesn't sound good.
No.
And at this point, they have a Canadian. I don't know why that's significant, but they have someone from Canada join the team. So the Canadian,
look out, eh?
hey, the Canadian also smelled the weird smell. And Tom claims the smell is related to Tom Gorman. Tom Gorman, he claims that smell is related to phenomenon. So I guess he smelled it before around the ranch too.
Yeah,
he's like, there's usually that weird smell when something weird's happening. The smell continues randomly occurring throughout the investigation, random places, times, indoors, outdoors. It just randomly keeps popping up. So then early April, the team has dogs to help track the smell. So they're noticing like the dogs really seem to be able to sense these things.
Yeah.
So they get some dogs to help them out. So then on April 7th, the neighbors say they saw 3 UFOs heading to the ranch. But the investigators who were on the ranch, so it's almost like real time. The neighbors called, are like, hey, I see 3 UFOs heading towards you. And then the investigators are there just waiting. They see nothing. Like, they never see anything. The UFOs just never show up. And the neighbors are like, they're heading towards your ranch. They're on your ranch. Nothing. So then April 9th, the rain started. So if you remember in part 1, it seemed like storms really kind of brought a lot of strange activity.
Which I hear it does paranormally.
Yeah.
It does, bring about quite a lot of energy. So that makes sense. That checks out, I guess.
Yeah. So this is like, torrential, like downpour kind of rain. And the team is investigating for a few hours around the property. They're just kind of like driving around, seeing if they notice anything. And then Calm notices a random dim light that no one noticed before. So it's just kind of like,
where did that come
how
from?
would we not have noticed that? We've been like out here for hours. So they moved to higher ground for a better vantage point since it is so rainy. And to the naked eye, it's just dim and yellow. But they also have this outstanding equipment. Like, I'm talking about like top of the line, like infrared.
So sure.
Oh, yeah. Like, so they have really good. So when you look at this light with infrared, it's very bright, large, and white. It's like a beacon resting on the ground. So it looks very different. So the rain's too heavy. They just like map the location to investigate later because they're just rained out. So the next day they spent 8 hours looking for the evidence of the orb and found nothing. It's just super frustrating. Like,
just like there's so much activity happening and like you can't get your hand on any kind of proof really, other than we've got some magnetic readings. Like, that's it. Like, like I'm so frustrated for Tom and just everybody. It's horrible.
So the following day, Ellen and Tom come to check out on the cows. The team member is they're checking out like their equipment. So they're just like, doing their routine checks. They're very rigorous about their equipment. They always do baseline scans. So this one team member is checking out their magnetic detector. And when Ellen comes into the room, the reader just spikes like crazy. And they hadn't seen that happen before. And it was strongest about 2 feet away from her, which is kind of weird. So the previous baseline readings were recorded, and they hadn't seen anything like this before. And when she left earlier, no trace of the magnetic field was there anymore. But what's also weird is when she returned, it was gone from her. So it's almost like, I wonder if this thing was like, being a creeper and just lurking like 2 feet around her.
I don't like that.
Yeah. So the team is like, we have no idea what the hell that was about.
That's okay.
And then things become just really strangely normal for like months. The dogs even start playing. The cattle is settling down. Everything's just being like a completely normal ranch.
Not good.
So this
signifies something really awful is coming.
So yeah, so Nids is getting super frustrated. They're like, we've been here for months.
All this money and time, and there's this
we have nothing.
Like, we're like watching your dogs play. Yeah.
Yeah. So then in May 1997, the dogs seem to start noticing some weirdness again. Excuse me. So it's they're not, I guess you could say they're using them as bait. It seems like the dogs are the ones that are always the most aware. So they're like, you know what we should do? We should change our tactics. So they create like a long wire enclosure and 3 huge viewing stations to watch the dogs. So they're like, all right, we're gonna, have the dogs in these enclosures and see what's going on. And then this is where poltergeist-like activity begins.
Oh God. Okay.
So locks would just go missing, and the dogs would be somewhere like running out in the field after people had just locked the kennels. Mysterious interference continued at a frenzied pace, and this goes on for months. It's kind of like that stuff in part 1, like, all the things just disappearing and reappearing in weird places. Like that was going on with Tom and Ellen.
Yeah, like with Tom's equipment.
Yeah. So that's May, and then in June, this is their first night of like doing like a watch with these dogs. So orbs appear out of nowhere and suddenly disappear as quick. They're again super frustrating. They can never seem to catch evidence of any of this. Teams are positioned in different locations with all sorts of different gear. Everyone is looking for traces of orbs, and one guy with, I don't know why I wrote them out, Generation 3 ITT night vision binoculars.
Okay.
These are supposed to be like...
Okay, well, you're kind of obsessed with flashlights and binoculars and things like that, so maybe that's why.
Well, I think this is important too, because not only are these night vision, they amplify ambient light too. So they're like night vision plus,
Okay.
if you will.
Gotcha.
So, and then the guy looking with the binoculars, quote, "There's a huge black thing in the trees just ahead of us, and it is moving north." So Calm is like partners with him. And he's like, okay, he starts tracking it because he's trying to get photographic evidence. So he has his camera, but he doesn't see anything. So this guy is saying with these ambient lights, he can see something black, but Calm can't see anything with the naked eye or his camera.
Right.
And then the guy says, "It's got me. It's saying we're watching you." And then the thing just leaves. So, the dude, all right, he's like debriefing Calm on what he experienced. He said something big in the trees blotted out all of the stars. So whatever this was like huge. It took control of his mind and told him it was watching us. And then throughout the summer, Nid spent long hours investigating the location, and the usual cat and mouse games pursued.
This is horrible.
So yeah, they're again super frustrating. Like this thing, I guess, has some sort of telepathy even. Then we're at the end of August 1997, and Nids is away, as they so often do, because they can.
Right.
And Tom is on the ranch. At 4 p.m., the cattle is acting skittish and get so scared that they break their fence to stampede to a neighbor's field.
Oh, they're like, we're out of here, Tom.
Like, this is really bad fear, too, because, like, if some of the animals get injured, like, these are barbed wire fences. Like, something has to really be scaring these cows to make them do that. So, where was I? But the field is an alfalfa field, and apparently that's really bad for cows. It can make them gassy to a deadly point.
No.
So Tom is like, I have to get these cows out of this field.
Oh, babies, no.
So he brings along Tad, your favorite.
I love Tad.
His son Tad.
What's up, Tad?
And they're trying to corral the cattle back to their ranch.
They're like, hell no.
Yeah, so they'll kind of like corral them. They'll get the cows like a few yards, closer to the ranch, and then they get spooked and run away all over again.
Oh, babies.
So now it's midnight, okay? So that was at like 4 p.m. It's now midnight, and they are still trying to get these cows back to the ranch. And okay, so Tom is like, you know what? It's not working trying to take them directly back to the ranch. Let's try taking them east first and then north.
Try to confuse them a little bit.
Yeah, like let's just get them out of this area.
I think I bet babies you don't have to go back. We're leaving. All of us.
She's like, let's just go back to New Mexico.
Yeah, this was not it. Let's just say this move just didn't work out.
Just wasn't meant to be.
Right.
So they start nearing a creek, and a red golf ball sized ball flew directly at Tom, just missing his horse. So it's just like flies really fast at them.
Poor Tom.
It's not funny, but still
God.
funny. And the ball then starts darting around the cattle. And then another ball comes straight at Tom, just like out of nowhere.
What is going on?
This makes his horse flip the F out.
I bet.
That horse stampedes towards a canyon.
Towards a what?
A canyon. And Tom has to hurl himself off the horse before it plunges over the edge. So he has to just throw himself off his horse. It's freaking out.
Did the horse jump?
The horse did jump, but it was actually okay. The horse seemed okay. It would have probably not been very good for Tom if he had gone over with it. So now, not only are these red things, messing with the cattle and Tom and the horse, Tom's trying to get his horse back up the canyon. So he's like, come on back. And the red balls are almost hurting the cows into the creek by now, into the creek.
It.
So some of the cows and calves are trampling each other because they're freaking out in this water and get really bad injuries. And then these red balls are just suddenly gone, and the cows cooperate, being herded back to the ranch. And it's 2 a.m. at this point. So, they finally get the cows back on the ranch. Ellen shows up at this point to kind of help out, and she's worried.
Ellen's like, I've had it, guys.
Yeah, so she drives her truck, and she's meeting with them. And Tad, he's coming from over the fence where the ranch is and walking towards Ellen's car. And then, sorry, I can't read my handwriting again. And then, then she notices a red ball appear above Tad when he's walking towards her. So she's like, Tad, run, this weird red thing is above you. And then it just charges towards Ellen and Tom. These things are just kind of attacking them, being weird. They hadn't seen, I don't think they saw red balls yet. But anyway. Okay. And now some big blue between baseball and basketball size balls near the old homestead are also hovering a few feet off the ground as if watching them. So now it's just these things just there, kind of just scoping them out. And they had seen the blue ones before, but they hadn't seen them in several months. And then let's see. Yeah, and then that was that occurrence. It's yeah, well, that happened.
So are there any theories? Does anybody have any kind of idea what the hell, or is this still just we don't know? There's something here, but we don't even have a clue.
Yeah, pretty much that's my take from the end of the book. We're walked through a few different theories, but nothing that's we have evidence that it's this. It's all, it could be this, it could be this, it could be that, but nothing that's
there's
this is what it was.
Because I feel you've got some paranormal activity happening. You've got some, alien encounters happening on top of it.
Even poltergeist
and
activity.
Then maybe even just crazy Skinwalker, or maybe even Beast, we don't even know, all teaming up. It's they're all teaming up somehow.
It's
I don't know. It's
the most bizarre stuff ever.
I don't even.
And I don't
have a clue.
It almost feels like it's targeting the Gormans.
Yeah,
none of the investigators
never had situations like that at their other ranch. They claim that they've never had any of this happen until they moved here.
Never even heard of stuff like this happening.
Well, has anybody ever interviewed the people that lived there before?
I don't know. I feel like they want to be kind of left alone, but I mean, this
At
whole
this
region has
point,
such a
like,
rich history of weird crap like this, though. I'm sure they had experiences.
exactly. Like, what is it? Like, what is the tax? Is like this land cursed somehow?
Well, yeah, that's where some people are like, oh, it's the Skinwalker curse, and then other people are like, no, it's something natural, and then other people are like, it's UFOs. Like,
But like,
nobody really knows.
why the attack on these animals like this? You know what I mean? Like, I feel like if they are obviously this powerful and they had something against the actual Gorman family, that they could have easily taken out the Gormans.
Yeah.
Why do they keep hurting like these animals? You know, like are they just doing it to just kind of fuck with them?
I don't know.
Or I mean, like what? I was just thinking, it's like we were going through the story, like what my personal theory is, and I gotta tell you, I don't freaking know. This is just crazy.
I have like a few more pages of occurrences, and then we can get into talking about the aftermath and like what.
Yeah,
what
I
we
would be
think.
interested to see what we think. Like, I mean,
There's a few more strange things that happen.
I've been trying to form something in my head, but I'm just like, what the heck?
Yeah, it's like I'll start thinking one thing, and I'm like, well, what the hell was that?
I mean, like like the golf size shaped balls. Like, what is that? Why? Okay,
Yeah.
sorry. Go ahead.
No, it's fine.
I'm frustrated.
I mean, yeah, exactly. The whole investigation part of this book frustrated the hell out of me and the investigators.
Like, because obviously something is not right here.
But you just cannot capture any evidence to like figure it out. So now we're at August 25th, 1997. So the team is on watch on the ranch. Jim, a team member, took a break to go meditate in the middle of a field. Now, if you remember our buddy that came to the ranch in part 1 to meditate,
do you remember that?
It does seem to stir up some activity. So this is about 2:30 a.m. and it's after a 6-hour watch. And Jim thinks that meditating helps stir up activity. So he's trying to do that. The team starts packing up at this point, though. And Jim, he's like, oh, it didn't work. Whatever. We're tired. Let's start packing up our equipment. And then Jim noticed a very faint light. He thought it might be a small piece of glass even that's just reflecting light from somewhere on the property. Super small. It appeared to be glowing, and as he watched, it got brighter and bigger. And it was yellowish. So kind of like that other light they saw that seemed yellow to the naked eye.
Right.
So he nudged Mike, this other guy, to hand him the camera. And Mike pulls out his night vision binoculars, those top-notch ones with the ambient light.
I'll have the model number again for you in the show notes.
I'm going to look those up and see how much they are. So this thing is just growing. It's like 6 inches, a foot, 2 foot. Like it starts growing.
Yeah.
So Mike says, it's a tunnel, not a light. Something's in the tunnel. There's a black creature climbing out.
Okay, now I'm feeling like Stranger Things. What?
Yeah, and then Mike says, it has no face. It just climbed out. It's on the ground. It just walked away. So Jim couldn't see any of this because he did not have the binoculars. Mike was not being a good friend. And he couldn't see any of that with the naked eye. And Mike says that the creature was large, probably like 400 pounds, 6 feet tall, and humanoid. And then the tunnel is gone. The guys approach the area and notice a sulfur odor. That's it. So what I find extra creepy about this is this thing just came out of this portal and then just walked off. Like, where the hell did it go? Like, wow. So it's just somewhere out there on the property.
Okay, great.
So then it's like, okay.
Oh God.
So at this point, it's been a year for NIDS in the summer of 1997, investigating the property. And they also start investigating a secondary site that is really similar. And I meant to look up how to say this, so sorry if I'm not pronouncing it right. Dulce, New Mexico.
Oh.
So this guy, Gabe Valdez, is kind of the guy heading up that front in New Mexico. So that's where Calm first meets him. And Valdez joined NIDS in 1987. He was a state trooper in the 70s and investigated and reported bizarre happenings like mutilations, like a lot of similar activity going on.
He's seen some stuff like that.
Yeah, so he's working parallel investigations in this location. And Calm spends 100 days with Valdez at that site. And then the end of July 1997, still NIDS, no real evidence captured, even with both these sites. No known stuff going on. They're just not catching any evidence. So then they decide to go ghost hunters style. So they install 6 surveillance cameras near one of the hotspots, and a year passes and they catch nothing. Nothing at all. So July 20th, 1998, Tom notices that 3 of the cameras stopped recording, and someone or something had ripped the wiring. So the wiring had been unduct taped, and the PVC pipe was bent. So it was not something easy to do. So they're like, maybe it's some sort of vandalism, because now at this point people know they're investigating. So they're like,
right,
maybe it was some sort of vandalism.
That out that it wasn't.
Yeah, but they're just saying that it wouldn't be easy to do this because they have PVC pipe it's like tubing around the wires, and it's all like duct tape. So you'd really have to like take your time, and you wouldn't be able to do it very quickly. Not to say it's impossible, but then as they were reviewing the footage of the other cameras, they noticed that you can see, like in some of the other footage, where the cameras went down and what time that was. So what they're trying to do is kind of go back in time to the other cameras to see that were working, to see like if they can see what happened, like what took those cameras out. And playback shows nothing. They didn't capture anything. So they ended up taking like the footage and everything back to the Vegas lab for digital enhancement. So you can see the tiny red lights on each camera lose power at some point once they enhance it. I think that was it. They never like figured out what caused those cameras to go off. And this is where I start getting really tired of all like the repeat stuff. So I got kind of lazy on my notes. So then now we're in April 1999. Tom and Ellen see a dust cloud. It's from horses running and kicking in the corral as they're driving up on the ranch. So these horses are freaking out. All they can kind of see, they don't realize it's even horses at first. It just kind of looks like a little dust storm. And they're like, what is that? But it's the horses freaking out. So Tom made out a reddish brownish blur. It looked kind of like a dog in the corral with the horses. And it didn't look like a normal dog though. It had a hyena body. It was big, muscled, short legs, and bushy tail, like a boar. So it's like this weird hybrid creature looking thing. So the creature ran away as Tom ran towards it. Tom followed, and the creature just disappeared, like so many things seem to do on this property. And then after 1999, there were other sightings of the hyena-like creature on the ranch, and even another ranch a few miles away. Tom also saw tropical fire red birds and huge spiders a few times.
So random.
And these things would just appear and just as quickly vanish. A couple nearby saw a humanoid figure running at Olympian speeds across a field, and it was running towards the Gorman Ranch. And in 2004, Calm leaves NIDS. He never recorded substantial evidence. Tom said the observation trailer was too heavy-handed, so they did move like all that equipment on there. So Tom is like, we didn't catch evidence because you guys were way too heavy-handed with us trying to catch them. So they weren't appearing. So NIDS owned the ranch August 1996 to 2004, and activity trickled away over the years. And some think maybe the emotional detachment of the scientists was what was causing a lack of activity. but the Gormans were so emotionally invested in the ranch, maybe they could have
Right.
triggered it more. And that's it.
Oh my
No
God.
evidence caught.
That's a
So,
bummer.
yeah. So let me see. I think I looked up who owns the ranch now.
Again.
It's Adamantium Real Estate is what it actually is trademarked as, and the individual owner in 2016 to now that became public is Brandon Fugel via the Adamantium Holdings. Seems to be a shell corporation, which means a corporation that exists only on paper.
Right.
And now all the roads that lead to it are heavily blocked. There's a perimeter with secured gates. It's guarded by surveillance cameras and barbed wire. So it's really, really secure. Let's see. Adamantium Real Estate filed a trademark for service. For service mark. So called Skinwalker Ranch, and was approved on April 14th, 2020. And I guess some of this like merchandise is included. Sorry, the trademark include providing recreational facilities, entertainment services, and distribution of multimedia.
So it's almost like they're trying to make money off of it.
Yeah, and it was most recently amended to include merch. So I don't know. It kind of sounds like it could be related to like movies or I don't know.
Yeah,
like a studio.
Have they kind of washed their hands with it?
Oh point? Yeah, I think they stopped like after the first maybe 3 years.
I can't even imagine just the emotional torment they have been through, and then still not to be able to catch any real footage. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and then the last part of the book is just talking about the aftermath. Okay, so this is kind of where you finally understand how George Knapp, the other author of the book, and Colm are connected. So I guess George had been following the story and even went on to the site during the investigation because he's always been interested in journalism related to this. And then in 2002, NIDS allowed George permission to write about the ranch.
Gotcha.
So I think that's kind of what's popularized a lot of this stuff. I think that's it. So some of the theories will just kind of go at a high level, and then we can kind of talk about what we think. So the book has several ideas. One, it could be a hoax. It could be.
I was thinking that, but man, that's a good hoax. And a mean hoax because you've hurt living things and you've also fucked with people's minds. So, I mean, I can't rule out that it's not a hoax.
Yeah. And, you know, even if it wasn't necessarily the Gormans, it could be tricksters in the area. The one thing that the book notes is that the rich history of reports go way back before the Gormans, so that would be kind of an elaborate hoax. I mean, we're talking about even back hundreds of years.
Well, that could kind of be like, you know, remember that show? Well, this is very far-fetched, but you remember, it was a Disney original Scream Team. How they tried to like profit off of making Zachariah Cole like this evil thing, and so like for generations, like this family kept up all these lies. Like maybe for generations, like this hoax is passed on and on and on. I mean, I don't think that's the correct theory, but I'm just saying, maybe I don't know.
Yeah, I'm
thinking.
I think maybe some of the
like maybe the
reports were hoaxes. But as a whole, I don't think this activity is a hoax.
I think you could rule that out. Yeah.
Another idea is delusions. It's possible, but there's individual experiences, and usually delusions are group experiences.
Yeah.
Some say it just could be nature. That there could be like maybe something natural in that area that makes people hallucinate. One person even says tectonic strain theory, which is electromagnetic energy releasing from seismic stress, and it can sometimes manifest as light. Still, that doesn't
That
explain
doesn't
the
really
weird
explain the
creatures to me.
mutilations and the tunnel. I don't know.
NIDS also tried testing this theory out and correlated timing and location of seismic activity in a 300-kilometer radius of the ranch over the past 10 years and found no correlation. So I feel like these are really smart scientists. I trust them. They also use the U.S. Geological Survey as well as the Utah State University database. Found no correlations. So
Right.
I think that's a little far-fetched. Some people say advanced terrestrial civilization. Maybe it's an isolated group of humans that gain access to advanced technology, but that just still seems weird that it would be in such an isolated location.
Yeah, agreed.
Other people say it's ETs, extraterrestrials.
But mean ones, I mean, shit. Why you gotta like be like that?
NIDS also tried finding evidence of this, like on the isotope ratios, which means nothing to me, but they said nothing but terrestrial signatures were present. So I don't know. And then others say it's ancient astronauts that the ETs have been visiting for thousands of years. And then and also some of it turns into like darker rumors. Some people say it's the military. Could be the Skinwalker curse, is what some say. And then I think there was even a rumor, I don't know, like some of the conspiracy theories get really far-fetched out there, like NIDS is actually like a shadow government kind of thing, and they were hiding dead body. Like there's a lot of like crazy theories out there too.
Yeah. So do you have a thought after doing all this research? Like, is there one theory that stands out more to you than others, or do you?
I just think interdimensional seems the most correct. That those tunnels are some sort of like vortex or like a portal to another dimension is kind of what I'm leaning towards. I mean, who knows what could exist on the other side, but even if these figures, we don't know what these things are coming out of these tunnels, or if they I'm assuming they leave and go back into the tunnels.
Yeah.
But I don't know. That description of it being like a black humanoid faceless figure that was really big, I'm like, that sounds like a lot of sightings of a lot of cryptids or, monsters all around the world. So I don't know.
I can't wrap my head around is why the animal mutilations. Like, what does that represent? Like, what was the purpose of that? Like, I can get behind, like, I really like your theory a lot about, the baby being a portal to different things. And I definitely think there's evidence of that, though we can't 100% capture it. But, I mean, that would explain a lot with the lights. That would explain a lot with the paranormal activity that's happened. But, I mean, I just don't understand the animal mutilation, where the animal mutilation comes from, and, like, the dogs, like, being burned. Like, what, like, that's the part that I don't understand.
Yeah, I don't know. It's interesting because I've been listening to the Evidence of the Afterlife podcast a lot this week. And what's interesting is that podcast is so not about this stuff necessarily, but you can't help but kind of touch on these things.
Sure.
I haven't heard anything about like cryptids, but there are some things with like ghosts and UFO activity, and it almost seems like a singularity. Like people who tend to experience poltergeist activity or ghost activity also experience UFO activity. Like
that is true. I was listening to something like that as well. And I don't know if maybe it's just that they are more open to it. I mean, just kind of like, you talk about on the ranch how these dogs and these animals sense things. And I believe the animals like do sense things. Like they're just more tuned into to energy than we are a lot of times, and so that would make sense completely. I just almost like this place is like a lot of stuff happening, and it's just a mecca of just a lot of stuff. I don't know what it is about that place that makes it all happen there.
It seems to be the dark side of whatever this is.
Yeah.
Like I don't know if there is such a thing as like hell or like
Maybe that's
low
the portal
frequency energy
to
that they
it.
talk about. Maybe it's this place because
I mean, yeah,
everything I've heard.
Evil.
Yeah, and it's odd that there's two documented accounts of someone medicating.
Yeah, I bet a lot of people are meditating after
Meditating.
the trip there.
Meditating there, and then both of those brought something that scared the hell out of them, frankly.
Yeah, exactly.
So it was like they manifested a portal, and then every evil thing or something scary just came out of it.
And I think about the two things that stood out to me in the first episode and this one were the manifestations like that Tom had about his dogs and about how much he loved them and appreciated them, and then his wife in this episode talking about how thankful, how much she just loved their bulls, and then bad things happen just as soon as they put that out there. It's like as soon as you try to manifest something good or put a good thought out there, it's like it just grabs it and ruins it. Like it's very odd.
It almost seems like demonic in nature with how it feeds off negativity and makes people who live there so oppressed.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's like I don't know. I really wish that people that live there before would talk about.
Yeah, or maybe they have, but I was trying to do myself a favor and just stick with this one book.
Oh yeah, definitely.
But I mean, I don't know.
It would just be interesting to see, like
on down the road once we start running out of topics, we can revisit Skinwalker Ranch.
But it's crazy. Like it seems like such an evil, horrible place, and I don't know. I can't handle animal cruelty, and I just.
Yeah, I mean, my thing with the animal mutilations is one, it either is that predator creature from like episode 1, and maybe it's just feeding.
Right.
Or 2, it's just something evil.
Right.
Because to me, whenever they describe that cattle mutilation that NIDS first came out to see, it almost sounded like the way I would, if I were there and saw that, I'd be like, this looks like an animal sacrifice with how this thing is laid out.
Yes. It's not just like, I'm hungry, I'm going to eat you. It, like you said, it seems like an evil sacrifice.
So
not like a like. I mean, I guess like maybe I could. Some of my theories would work out if it was just like I really am just eating you as I'm starving, versus like all of these seem to be just awful things. So that's what I can't. And maybe it would like if there really is a portal to hell. I think maybe Skinwalker Ranch could be it, or something evil for sure.
It's like Event Horizon. Like it's like they just cross through a portal to hell.
Yeah, it's just I don't know. I don't like it. I'm not a fan.
Yeah, I mean, so I think maybe it is and I don't know, that part of the meditation with this already being a hotbed of activity, maybe this is an area where something like a Skinwalker curse could become reality.
Yeah.
So I don't know, maybe it truly is the Skinwalker curse that's able to manifest because of some of the weird,
horrible
portal activity here.
Exactly. And I think about just like with the stuff we have talked about before, we've talked about not even on the podcast, but to get paranormal energy, it's really hard to get an entity to come through, whether it's opening a door, pushing something. For a paranormal entity to do something this extreme makes me rule out that as a thought. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think that it's 100% paranormal in that regard.
Yeah, it seems like some sort of physical being.
Yeah, that's how I feel, because that would take an extraordinary amount of energy. Like some of the most active hauntings and places can't pull off half of, you know what I mean, this stuff that we've heard in this story.
Yeah, so that's why that's why this place scares me. I'm like, send me to the haunted places. Let's do it.
Send me to we can do like Lizzie Borden's house or or something like that.
Yeah,
but this place, like I'm scared I'm gonna be going into some kind of vortex that I don't want to be near.
Yeah, thank you to this.
like I'm all about like helping spirits cross over or find out why that energy is still there, but I am not about like some portals to hell. Like that's a whole nother. That's not my jam. Like, no. That's very scary. You did a really good job. That's a lot to unpack.
Thank you. I mean, I tried to skim off as much as I could, but a lot of weird shit happened in there for a long time.
It's really bad. It's really, really bad. And I don't know. Like every time I thought I was so close to a theory, something else would happen, and I was like, no.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I guess it could be multiple theories existing
I think
all
it
at
could
once.
be a lot of. I think you could be dealing with a lot more than just one thing.
Yeah, I think so.
But I hope research is still going on there. It's got to be
I don't know.
frustrating not to be able to find anything, and then it's like then you run into like how much more money can you put into researching something and not getting any evidence. It's like it's almost like this entity is smart enough to know that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so it's just like
And
frustrating everybody.
Yeah, it's just unless
Like,
the government's coming in
I don't
and trying
know.
to destroy the evidence that they get.
Or
That's
maybe
a whole
it's-
other theory.
Yeah, it could be telepathic. It could
It
be like
could
this
be.
physical telepathic thing that just likes to be mean and scare people.
Exactly. Like, or make people, or maybe it's like, what if there really is evidence and somebody didn't want that evidence out, and so that's how it keeps getting destroyed and messed with.
Yeah.
It could be somebody that was a part of the team, like to possibly be like a secret agent.
Or maybe it was mind control. If it was
mind
being
control.
like maybe it forced somebody to mess with the cameras.
I mean, especially think about it, like especially like the part with the bulls getting into that trailer. Like it's obviously you're dealing with some kind of mind control. So obviously I'm thinking they probably did have tons of evidence, but whatever they're dealing with could easily have made them be like, oh, hit delete. And they have like no recollection of doing that. You know?
which really sounds a lot like extraterrestrials. Like black eye kids.
Yeah, yes.
Kind of stuff.
Very true.
Or the Greys, who are
like
not supposed to be very nice.
Like prove anything, and so therefore they can keep on, playing these games. I don't know. It's scary stuff.
Pretty creepy.
It definitely is. Ugh. But I do hope that the research can continue somehow. But really sucks.
I get it if people are like, kind of over this.
Well, yeah. I mean, just listening to your story, I was getting so frustrated. I was like, okay. I think you're the part with the balls like dropping and the horse going over the cliff. I was like, no, I can't. I can't anymore.
Yeah.
I can't take it. I can't take it anymore.
It's like,
oh my gosh.
Yeah, the Gormans are always like the focus of the anger.
I feel so bad for them. Well, we would tell us what you think. Do you guys have any theories on this subject?
Yeah, definitely.
Talk to us. We would love to hear, do you have any thoughts? Or, I mean, it's definitely crazy phenomenon happening out there. So if you have any theories you'd like to share, we would love to hear of, because obviously I'm just like, what the hell?
Yeah, for sure.
I don't know. But you did a great job covering it. And I'm up next, so you get a break finally.
Yeah.
So I'll be nice. Sharing. I've got a really fun story for you guys. And I've told Ash what I'm working on, and I think it's going to be really awesome. So I'm really excited to share it with you guys.
Cool. Well, hope you guys enjoyed. Try to probably don't go to the ranch. And
my mom said that she would go. She's like, oh, absolutely. So that's surprising.
See, Mom is all like, don't mess with the Ouija board, but I'm
gonna go to Skinwalker Ranch. Yes.
Mom said to say hi, Aunt Jeannie. She's listening to the show.
Yes. Hi, Aunt Jeannie. She is our conspiracy theory expert.
Oh, Jeannie.
Sure.
I would love to know what you think. I bet you think it's the government.
Yes, this is so up your alley. It's probably where we get a lot of these stories from. We love them. So, yes, tell us what you think, Aunt Jeannie. We want to hear from you, especially. And we hope you guys are well. I can't wait to tell you my story next. You're gonna love it, I think. So it'll be really great. And that's all I've got.
Keep safe and stay curious.
Absolutely. Stay curious out there. Bye, guys.